how am I going to pay that in a month?
Nobody can pay that in a month.
And right before Christmas.
A nearly $2,800 Easy Pass bill with no payment plan. Fox 45 News investigates what is causing these sky-high bills. The city council votes to give themselves pension access in just 8 years instead of 12. The strong words Governor Larry Hogan has for council members and what he says they need to be more focused on.
I really think this year voters got more focused in on politics, unfortunately, because it was the behavior of elected leaders.
Baltimore residents are showing they care who's representing them, with voter turnout increasing. How political experts say future elections could be impacted.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
We have breaking news report right now. 3 people are seriously hurt after a home explosion in Pigtown.
That's right. The Baltimore Fire Department says its special operations team, hazmat units, and BGE are all on the scene right now. It happened at the corner of Bayard and Sargent Streets.
Keith Daniels joins us live with the very latest. Keith, what are you seeing out there?
Well, Kai and Mary, we're actually in Carroll Park, right across the street from where this incident happened. Still a very active scene here. Fire officials say it was an explosion at this house. You can see the damage that was caused. They say the home was occupied when it happened just after 2 o'clock today. Officials say 3 people are hurt, 1 seriously, the other 2 critically injured. One man we talked to said he was close by, heard the explosion, saw the victims, and he told us he jumped into action to help.
What happened was the house said, boom! And the wall came down. We was walking down the street. I was coming from the store up the street, so I came down the Sargent Street. Something went boom, the house fell over. Lady came out the back door. I started running down the street. Boom, boom, boom. She said, help, help, help. She was on fire. And I put her out, go in there and get my baby, go in there and get my baby. I said, is the baby in there? She said, no, my baby, my daughter.
Yes, it wasn't an infant. The woman referring to the other female, not an infant. Of course, now the investigation into what caused this explosion. Again, 3 people are hurt, 1 seriously, the other 2 critically injured. And now to begin the investigation as to what caused this incident. We're live now in South Baltimore. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
All right, Keith, thank you. Also breaking at this hour, Democratic lawmakers will get former President Donald Trump's tax returns after a 3-year court battle. The House Ways and Means Committee asked for that paperwork for the years 2015 through 2020. The Supreme Court ruled committee members are entitled to those records, but it's still unclear when lawmakers will receive the returns.
I think the voters were very clear that they supported term limits. They're not pleased in general with their elected leaders. I think they all have very low approval ratings. And they're not, certainly with hitting 300 murders yesterday, I don't know that they think they're doing an incredible job. I would say some people would probably argue that they deserve, pink slips instead of pay raises.
Criticism for the Baltimore City Council is now coming from the highest office in the state. Good afternoon. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Governor Hogan says voters have a right to be angry that elected leaders voted to shorten the time it takes for them to earn a pension. Now, that happened the same day the state medical examiner declared the 300th homicide in Baltimore City. We have live team coverage in a city in crisis. In just a moment, Alexa Ashwell looks into the culture of violence in Baltimore as we are now in our 8th straight year of 300 homicides.
Maxine Stryker and Mackenzie Frost look into the fallout of the pension vote. The mayor hasn't said whether he'll sign it, but Mackenzie, you have spoken with the governor about this. What did he say?
Yeah, well, we just heard some of the comments right there, Guy, right? The governor says that leaders in Baltimore should look at the other problems in the city before voting to give themselves anything. The governor's comments come after Baltimore City Council voted to shorten the time it requires to earn a pension on an 8-5 vote. 2 members of the city council abstained from that vote. And his comments are echoed by others who are closely watching what's happening inside City Hall. Governor Hogan was quick to say that what the city council did really sends the wrong message to voters and the city as a whole. Do you think that's fiscally responsible? Does it send the wrong message to the city themselves? They fast-track this plan. They take their time when it comes to other legislation dealing with violent crime, but this seemed to have no problem getting through.
I think the voters were very clear that they supported term limits. They're not pleased in general with their elected leaders. I would say some people would probably argue that they deserve, pink slips instead of pay raises.
And remember that more than 70% of Baltimore City voters approved Question K. That was the ballot proposal that implemented those term limits on the city leaders. Marion Kai?
Mackenzie, there was some opposition to this pension change in the fact that it was going through. What are you hearing on that today?
Yeah, well, we saw 5 members from the city council vote in opposition of that. The opposition came from city council members Zeke Cohen and Ryan Dorsey, 2 people who have also been very vocal in their opposition. Right now, it sits with Mayor Brandon Scott. He can either let this plan become law without a signature, sign it, or veto it. The mayor's office tells me Mayor Scott respects the process, but so far has not yet made a decision. If the mayor does veto this plan as it stands right now, Council President Nick Mosby does not have the votes required to override a potential veto. We're live in Annapolis. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Well, this year in Baltimore City politics, one thing has been clear. Voters, they are paying attention to the decisions their elected leaders are making. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker continues our live team coverage to explain how. Maxine?
Mary, it may be evident now more than ever, especially after voters overwhelmingly approved Question K in the election this month, that they are not blind to what's happening in City Hall.
Voter turnout increases when voters have a sense of anger or frustration.
2022 has proved Baltimore City residents are closely watching the actions of their elected leaders. In July, Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby lost her re-election bid in the Democratic primary to Ivan Bates after she was indicted on federal charges. Voters ultimately rejecting the 2-term incumbent and her progressive policies.
I really think this year voters got more focused in on politics, and mainly it was unfortunately because it was the behavior of elected leaders.
Political analyst John Deedy says city voters made it clear they care who is representing them, and they proved so again, overwhelmingly passing Question K on Election Day, establishing future term limits for local elected officials. But in response, the Baltimore City Council fast-tracked and approved a bill that would lower the number of years Baltimore City elected leaders must work to earn a pension from 12 to 8.
Why did we have to vote for term limits? Because of actions just like this. We're saying enough is enough.
City residents showing up for the vote Monday and not keeping quiet.
Citizens of Baltimore have been bamboozled. Glover, I'm here. I heard you vote yes.
Deedy says come the next election, this will likely be top of mind for many Baltimore City residents.
If I was running again for city council or running for any other city position and voted for this, you better have a really good explanation to your constituents why you voted for this.
And former mayoral candidate Bob Wallace says there's no explanation, and those 8 members who voted yes should be nervous.
We will make up our life mission to identify the members who voted in the wrong way in this amendment. We will do our best to find good men and women to compete against them in the next election, so that we have men and women in that body who represent the people of Baltimore.
Now, coming up at 5 o'clock, we hear from Zeke Cohen, who was one of the no votes last night, about what he thinks may happen next. Reporting live in Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Maxine. 12 years ago, the City Council increased the time it takes for police and firefighters to receive pensions. It went from 20 years to 25 years. Councilman Zeke Cohen is against the council's new pension change.
I'm also concerned that this sends the wrong message to the communities that we serve. I would note that in 2010, the City Council voted to increase the amount of time police and firefighters have to serve in order to get their pension from 20 to 25 years. I would note that in 2014, the City Council reduced the benefits that non-elected government employees in Baltimore receive in their pension. And yet today, we are voting to shorten the duration for our own pension. I think that sends the wrong message.
Heading into yesterday's vote, we asked you, is it fair for first responders to wait 25 years for a city pension while the council waits 8? 610 people voted, 98% said no, 2% said yes.
We want to know what you think, and we want you to join the conversation. Will you change who you vote for during the next election because of this pension vote? So far, 95% of those who voted say yes. You can vote right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote. Well, if you want to contact your city council member, you can scan the QR code right there on your screen with your phone. It will take you to foxbaltimore.com. We have contact information for each city council member listed.
After some confusion with the Baltimore Police Department's statistics for the 8th consecutive year, 300 people have been killed in Baltimore. Alexa Ashwell is live right now to explain what the department says is behind the change and the search for solutions. Alexa?
Yeah, Kai, just days ago, BPD reclassified 2 cases from this year's killings. Those cases include the shooting death of Tyree Moorhead at the hands of police. The department awaiting the results of that investigation. And then one of the victims killed in a double homicide back in February. Police determining this was justified and removing his name from the list. We're told this is routinely done in consultation with prosecutors. So we asked former prosecutor Dhruv Naraja to weigh in.
Homicide detectives work hand in hand with homicide prosecutors to investigate a case, to bring an indictment before a grand jury. So it's not uncommon for them in the course of an investigation to come to the conclusion that it was self-defense or that it was a justified shooting by a person in law enforcement. What is remarkable in Baltimore City is that we are so not transparent about the process.
Why the city continues to reach and surpass 300 homicides a year and what can be done to change that. More experts weigh in. I'll have that coming up at 5. For now, reporting live outside police headquarters, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Wow, good-looking afternoon. 58 thus far for a high after a low of 25. We have over doubled temperatures since this morning, and finally a day above average. The average high temperature 55, and right now we're still sitting pretty. Clear skies and 57. Toyota Asian Harbor Skycam good for maybe cracking those windows on the trip home. Winds out of the south-southwest at 6, and humidity, I mean, it is like desert air. Down below 20%. Temperature of 57 here in Baltimore now, 54 at Columbia, 57 out Columbia, or rather I should say out Frederick Way. And then temperatures in the low and mid 50s out on the eastern shore. And today, on top of yesterday's temperatures above where they were the day before, we are now about 6 to 12 degrees above where we were yesterday. So Goliath temperature recovery here, and really not a whole lot of cold air on the map. The last of what was here is well to our north around Scranton and also Boston, New York, where the temperatures are still in the 40s, as well as Pittsburgh. But that is continuing to go on the way out, and that's going to be trapped up in New England and up toward Canada. HD radar shows that we got a couple of snow showers way north up there around the mitten of Michigan. Otherwise, for us, fair weather high pressure is our weather maker, double-barreled actually off the coast and also across the southeastern U.S., just over the portion of northern Mississippi you see there. So it's sunny and very nice. It's keeping all of the rain down to the south and away from us. So any travels across the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, going to be doing any of those in the next 24 to 36 hours to get away for Thanksgiving, looking A-OK. Temperature around 50 degrees here in Baltimore as we head into this evening. 48 at Cockeysville, 39 at Westminster at about 4:15. So we're on a quick drop as we work our way through the evening and overnight hours. But it's not going to be as cold as it was when you woke up this morning. It's not going to be the 25. Probably temperature settling down to about 32 or so tomorrow morning. And then nice tomorrow afternoon again for getaways for Thanksgiving as we hit the low in the mid-50s. Actually, maybe even say 58 for Wednesday, 55 on Thursday for Thanksgiving. Good-looking day there. There could be a spot shower or two developing for Friday. Some sunshine on Saturday, maybe a shower late, and then probably the wettest day of the weekend, Sunday, but still mild with a high 59. And temperatures in the 50s early next week. No signs of snow in there, although early December could change for the colder.
Jonathan, thank you. A family is left scrambling to pay off a hefty Easy Pass bill. Coming up, just how much money the family is expected to pay days before the holiday season. Plus, taking you inside a local Amazon distribution center for a firsthand look at how the online giant is preparing for the expected rush in orders with the holiday shopping season upon us. Well, looking ahead as we get closer to the holiday season and Black Friday, online retailers are preparing for a rush of orders. Olivia Dance takes us inside the Amazon distribution center in Elkridge for a look at how the workers there are getting ready.
We are inside the Amazon Fulfillment Center here in Elkridge, getting a behind-the-scenes tour of what happens between when you order something online to when it actually arrives on your door. And right now, I want to bring in Josh Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sure, thanks for having me.
You're in charge of operations here, so this is a huge facility. What actually happens here?
So everything. We receive it, we pick it, we stow it, we pack it. We send it out to our customers. So this is a same-day fulfillment center. Okay. We've taken our latest innovations and technologies from 3 different previous Amazon business units and put them all under one roof to receive, to get really fast customer shipments within hours from click to delivery.
How does this run? Because these machines look like they're running by themselves.
It's amazing. So you'll see that they're sitting on these blue drives. Those are Amazon robotic drives. Okay. Those drives know exactly where all of our product is. As soon as you hit click, I want to buy this item, that drive starts moving and it goes to a picker. That picker then picks that order out and packs it for you and sends it out to our conveyors onto our sortation side. And then from there, our drivers are literally picking those up and taking them to your doorstep.
Very cool. And we know Cyber Monday's right around the corner, holiday shopping. So how much does demand increase this time of year and how do you guys keep up with it?
Oh, significantly. We'll be running every single station, every single pack station especially for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We're super excited about it. We're ramping up our hours for our team, our employees. So they're also excited about, earning some extra hours. And so, yeah, we'll ramp up and we'll post additional staffing opportunities and we'll be going on full cylinders here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And as you just heard, even though demand increases, shipment times stay the same, so you can still expect your packages to arrive very quickly, just like you always can expect with Amazon. But for now, reporting in Elk Ridge, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News.
International tension impacting oil supplies coming up, how global relationships are suffering, and what this means for your local gas prices. Plus, the dangerous trek many students are forced to make every day just to get to school, how one mother is responding and what the school system is doing about it. And we're following an explosion in Pigtown, which leaves at least 3 people hurt. The latest on the blast right after the break.
The Baltimore Police Fire Union says that there was an explosion in Pigtown this afternoon, and you're looking at images live right now. In fact, a special ops team, the hazmat team, and BGE are on the scene. The Baltimore Fire Department says the injured included 2 women who were inside the house and a man who was outside the home. The fire chief says one home collapsed and the home next door may have structural damage. An investigation is underway.
Mostly, we just want to keep our water clean and people safe.
Well, it was earlier this month when we first reported on a study that revealed Maryland's waterways have the highest level of forever chemicals nationwide. And Fox 45 News has now learned a team of scientists at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab is working to tackle this problem right now. Amy Simpson was in the lab with those researchers today. She joins us live with more on what she's learning about this problem. Amy.
Yeah, so Mary Kai, this research is all about PFAS, which are also known as forever chemicals. These are contaminants that do not naturally break down, but they're contaminants that have been used, manufactured in everyday items for decades, things like food packaging and stain-resistant fabric and carpet. But it's these researchers at Johns Hopkins APL, which is in Howard County, that are doing some research right now on ways to filter out or even destroy these forever chemicals. all with the goal of making our water, our drinking water, cleaner and safer. It's work that not only has an impact locally, but potentially nationwide and even globally.
There have been multiple studies linking PFAS contamination in water to health effects. The EPA recently, in 2021, identified PFAS remediation as an urgent critical need. So unless we do something, they will stick around.
And Amy, what progress have researchers made so far at APL?
Yeah, so these researchers have been hard at work in the lab there, as you could tell. They've so far worked to develop a way to destroy these forever chemicals, which is definitely some good news. They're finding ways to do that both eco-friendly and efficiently. But more importantly, they potentially are also creating this filter to pair with ways to improve our drinking water. And we'll have more about that filter, exactly what it does, coming up in our full report at 5:30. Mary, Kai?
How am I going to pay that in a month?
Nobody can pay that in a month.
And right before Christmas.
Well, first on Fox right now, a Baltimore County family says there's nothing easy about the nearly $3,000 Easy Pass bill they recently received. In fact, they claim the bill came late due to COVID delays, and now they're scrambling to pay it off before the holidays. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor reports if they don't act fast, they'll owe thousands more.
It's heavy.
You know a bill is big when it's shipped in a box, not an envelope.
I'm like, did you order anything from Amazon or Walmart or anything? And she goes, no. And I'm like, well, what is this?
Baltimore County resident Robert Loudermilk says he knew he'd been taking the toll roads periodically without an Easy Pass.
Maybe in a month about 10
times.
About 10 times, maybe a little more.
But he never expected this sky-high stack of fines.
I opened this up and I was shocked.
The box contains 477 notices, totaling nearly $2,800. And if it's not paid in 30 days, Loudermilk will owe more than $14,000.
There's no way I went through the tolls that many times. I feel like some of these are duplicates.
Not only is he contesting some of these charges, he says the Maryland Transportation Authority refuses to grant him a payment plan, and the COVID grace period for unpaid tolls ends this month.
They won't give me any options.
Loudermilk claims he'd regularly check his account balance online and doesn't think it's fair he wasn't notified about these climbing charges months ago.
I actually was able to speak to somebody to get help to pay, to pay this. And she told me that as of right now, you're at zero. You don't owe anything else. So if I was good to go in April, how come in October I owe this much?
When Fox 45 reached out to the Maryland Department of Transportation, they told us they couldn't comment on specific customer accounts due to privacy reasons. However, they did say they are, quote, working with this customer. They also say they're in the process of being able to offer payment plans, something Loudermilk hopes happens sooner rather than later.
If I don't get this handled by November 30th, things are going to get terrible for us.
Rebecca Pryor.
Possibly homelessness.
Fox 45 News.
MDTA also asked that all customers with outstanding debt reach out to them for assistance. You can find their contact information in this story on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
And topping your consumer news now, OPEC is gearing up to increase oil output, according to the Wall Street Journal. This as oil prices fall amid an expected embargo on Russian oil. The timing is also notable as it comes after the White House requested civil immunity for Saudi Arabia's Prince Mohammed bin Salman in the killing of American journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Amid criticism of the decision, the White House explained the thinking.
The United States consistently has afforded head of state immunity to heads of government, such as prime ministers, consistent with customary and institutional law. U.S. practice on this issue is longstanding and consistent, including a number of head of state immunity cases from the past 4 administrations.
The Wall Street Journal report notes that the increase, 500,000 barrels a day, is under discussion. That could potentially trigger a conflict between Saudi Arabia and Russia. Moscow is trying to keep global prices high while withholding supply to Europe as punishment for an embargo.
Today, I'm pleased to announce that we are formally launching online sports betting in the state of Maryland. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., 7 different sports books will be going live.
Making headlines right now, mobile sports betting officially begins tomorrow in Maryland. Governor Larry Hogan says 7 mobile sports books will begin taking bets at 9 a.m. in the morning. State lottery leaders say the number of apps may expand to as many as 21 as state leaders review applications. Now, the governor says this will be a windfall for the state by stopping residents from going elsewhere to place their bets.
Now, sports betting is helping us to keep all of these critical dollars in the state of Maryland and is providing another critical revenue source for Maryland schools. It's anticipated to bring in up to $30 million in revenue next year, and that total is expected to reach $100 million by 2027.
Well, we'd like to share this with you. It is the Gambler Hotline that's active 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can call 1-800-GAMBLER, also 1-800-426-2537. That's the direct number if you need help or if you know someone who does.
Well, the official Ravens pop-up shop returns this season at M&T Bank Stadium. The doors open today at 11 a.m. with a wide range of merchandise discounted for Black Friday. Deals include hats, ornaments, even jerseys.
My nephew's been begging for a game-used jersey, so I got him a game-used Hill jersey. So I'm really excited to give that to him for Christmas.
I was saying some baby stuff earlier, potentially. I'm due near Christmas, so we need to make her a Ravens fan. But yeah, whatever inspires me and maybe some other cute things along the way.
The store will be open 11 to 7 starting today until Saturday, except for, of course, Thanksgiving Day.
And we have a programming note for you. On Thursday, the New York Giants will take on the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. You can watch that right here on Fox 45 starting at 4 o'clock. Kickoff is at 4:30. What would Thanksgiving Day be like, Mary, without some football, right? Then college football Friday night at 8 o'clock. There's a 2-hour special on Fox 45 where you can watch rivals Ohio State versus Michigan. It's one of the biggest, best rivalries, not just in college football, but all of sports. You can watch that game right here when number 3 Michigan visits number 2 Ohio State at noon on Saturday. It will be must-see TV on Fox 45.
Plus, the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar is underway, and you can watch it right here on Fox 45. Yesterday, Team USA tied with Wales 1-1. Friday will be their next game. Team USA will take on England.
RSV, COVID, and the flu are filling up hospitals. What you can do to protect yourself and your family as you get ready for Thanksgiving.
And busy roads with commuters getting out of work as well as travelers hitting the road. And it looks like the weather's cooperating. Temperatures falling through the 40s and some mainly clear skies all the way through the afternoon and evening. I'm going to let you know when we could see our next weather maker with a chance of rain over the holiday weekend. My Weather Authority forecast. All right, take a look outside. Gorgeous day, 57 degrees, clear skies, winds out of the south and southwest at about 6 miles now. We're actually over doubled our temperatures today. We started at 25 this morning. We're now at 57, had a high of 58. The humidity, it's like desert air, 18%, and that's part and parcel of why that big temperature spread occurred. That's kind of what happens in the desert. You get those warm days, and then that dry air really cools off at night. Toyota issued a harbor sky cam. It's a mainly clear sky, gorgeous as the sun sets. For getaways for Thanksgiving or just an average afternoon commute should be okay, although I'm sure the roads are busy. Temperatures in the low and mid 50s right now, on their way down. We're running anywhere between about 5 and 15 degrees above where we were just 24 hours ago. And where's the cold air? Well, it's really nowhere in sight. Temperatures are in the 40s to the north, but nothing like the mid and upper 30s that we saw just a couple of days ago. Pattern change underway as milder air from the west moves on in. Lots of 50s around. HD radar shows us one little band of some snow way up there toward Michigan. And then there's some rain well down to our south. But this is kind of staved away by fair weather high pressure, almost a wall of fair weather. That's our latest weather maker down to our south. And that means the sunshine and the gorgeous weather continuing all the way through Thanksgiving around here. Now, things may start to change, unfortunately, as we head into the weekend. Future scan, in terms of temperature, it's going to be another cold one tonight. It's not going to be the 25 that we saw this morning or yesterday morning when we made it down to 19, but we'll be near freezing, maybe 31, 32 degrees. And then by tomorrow, midday and afternoon, more sunshine going to help to pump those temperatures up to about 55 to 60 degrees. Now, Thanksgiving getaways and travel impacts. Look at this. Across the entire country, it's green. Little impact. This is great for a very busy travel day on Wednesday. Now, around Billings, Montana, north of Denver, up in the mountains there, if you're headed that way, there could be some rain and snow. Now, it looks a little worse as we head into Thanksgiving, but again, pretty far away from us. Up and down the 95 corridor should be okay, but there could be some rain here from Houston all the way into southern portions of Alabama and Mississippi, and then potentially some weather from Denver all the way down north and west of Dallas. 31 degrees, clear skies for tonight, chilly. For tomorrow, we're back up to 57, continued sunny, nice as we head into Thanksgiving, 55 degrees, and we stay nice for Friday with a high of 55. Well, temperature-wise, we stay nice, but we will see some extra clouds. Could see a stray shower or two there on Saturday, 57. Maybe a peek or poke of sunshine, and then some showers could come in late. Sunday's a rainier day, at least somewhat, 59. Doesn't look as wet as we were looking at, but still could see at least a few showers for heading home. And then Monday, Tuesday, back to some sun and highs in the 50s.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Trending right now, an airport worker literally had to let the cat out of the bag. A TSA officer at JFK Airport in New York found an orange cat inside a checked bag after it went through the X-ray unit. The traveler says the cat belonged to someone else in his household. The cat was safely returned back home. TSA leaders say air travelers should check TSA policies on flying with pets. Coming up at 5 o'clock on Fox 45, you're looking live at a row home explosion in Pigtown, which left at least 3 people hurt. We'll have you any new developments coming up.
It's not the usual thing you associate with Thanksgiving, but you know that area under your chin? Sometimes it's a little loose. We call it turkey neck. I'm Liz Bonus. We'll tell you how you can get rid of it without surgery. It is just ahead.
If too much skin damage has you noticing somewhat of a sagging double chin, a new non-surgery therapy apparently can make it disappear. Medical reporter Liz Bonus is talking turkey neck, that is.
The medical term for what we often call turkey neck is submental laxity. It's the fullness or jowling that you see here and the relaxed skin around it. Now, because it's two concerns, combining two treatments can help it disappear. The first dissolves what Kim Roberts says she notices under her chin.
The goal is to tighten the neck up so it's not, you know, the little wrinkles aren't there.
She says the skin, well, it's a lot like a turkey's from years of sun damage.
Back in the day, we did the baby oil and the tanning beds, and you never think it's going to catch up with you.
So Sandrina Fletcher, a nurse practitioner at Kentucky's Derma Lounge, starts by injecting a product called Kybella. It sort of melts the padding under the chin.
Kybella is deoxychloric acid, and what that does, it actually dissolves the membrane around the cell.
The cells are then dispersed in the body, which takes about 3 weeks. Kim then returned to the office.
So right now I'm just determining where I need to put these little vectors or angles where I'm going to pull up.
For the second treatment, a process called threading.
PDO thread lift. Polydiaxanone is a surgical suture that dissolves.
As you can see, almost instantly it lifts the jowls so the skin can't turkey sag or move. Results of these procedures ideally will take about a couple of months, but within the same day of that second procedure, you can usually see some pretty dramatic results. Take a look at this. Here's Kim's before and after the same day.
A little bruising, but that was about it.
Total cost of all this, about $5,000. Sandrina says it lasts usually at least 2 years. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonus. Now back to you.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, Governor Hogan speaks out against the Baltimore City Council's approval of a new pension plan, the latest on the controversy surrounding their vote. 3 people are seriously hurt after a row home explosion in Pigtown in Baltimore. We're live with the latest.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
Fox 45 continues to follow that breaking news tonight. An explosion destroys a Baltimore row home. Most of that home collapsed right onto the street below. You can see the flames right there from it earlier. Bricks, wood everywhere.
That's right. Lots of smoke there, too. Firefighters and BGE still on the scene at this hour. This all happened at the corner of Bayard and Sargent Streets in Pigtown, right by Carroll Park. We know 3 people have been seriously injured. Fox 45's Keith Daniels joins us live from the scene with the very latest. And Keith, you talked to some eyewitnesses out there.
Well, Mary, that's right. We talked to witnesses, and we just got an update from fire officials. We're learning more about the victims. Fire officials just updating us. The victims, a 16-year-old girl, a 48-year-old woman, and a 70-year-old man. All of them at the hospital at this hour. One of them at shock trauma. The others at Bayview Burn Centers. Now, firefighters are calling that 70-year-old man a good Samaritan. They say he was walking nearby when he helped pull those women from that burning home before the building collapsed on top of him. He's at the hospital now in critical condition, along with those other individuals who are being reported as serious condition. Firefighters earlier talked to us about what happened here. Let's listen.
The two females they did have some burn injuries. They were transferred to the burn center. The male was transferred to shock trauma at this time. We would like for them to avoid the area as we are still going through our operations. We would appreciate it if they would avoid the area right now. But however, we have, as you see with the yellow tape that we've put up, we've made this a scene safe. We ask that everyone stay behind the yellow tape, which is basically the fire line at this point.
Well, again, the victims, a 16-year-old girl, a 48-year-old woman who were residents inside the home, not sure of their relationship, and that 70-year-old man, 70-year-old man who fire officials say helped pull those women from this burning home. Now, the investigation into what caused this explosion. We're live now in South Baltimore. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
All right, Keith, thank you. Fox 45 News will stay on the scene live tonight to bring you the updates right here and online. Don't forget to download the free Fox 45 News app. Users were first to know via push notifications to our live streams.
Also breaking tonight, Democratic lawmakers will get former President Trump's tax returns after a 3-year-long legal battle. The House Ways and Means Committee had asked for that paperwork for the years between 2015 and 2020. The Supreme Court ruled today committee members are entitled to the records. It is unclear when lawmakers will receive the tax returns.
Well, the Baltimore City Council's pension plan is moving forward, and it hangs in the balance awaiting a decision from Mayor Brandon Scott. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. Thanks for staying with us.
I'm Kai Jackson. We have team coverage of the City Council's pension plan tonight. Maxine Stryker is looking into how voters may respond.
But first, Mackenzie Frost has more as Governor Hogan is wading into this debate. Mackenzie?
Yeah, Mary and Kai, the governor says Baltimore politicians should look at some of the problems facing the city before voting to give themselves anything. Meanwhile, I'm hearing Mayor Brandon Scott has not yet made a decision about this plan.
Fiery opposition inside City Hall's council chambers Monday night.
We need to consistently put the interests and the needs of the communities we serve above our own. I vote no.
As the concern related to question K will not take effect on any person, a member of this body, until a decade from now. We have a whole decade.
The words not stopping Council President Nick Mosby from getting the votes to pass his fast-track pension plan, making it easier for council members to get lifetime benefits for part-time work after 8 years instead of 12.
The people, didn't really ask for this.
Giovanni Patterson with the group behind Question K. The ballot proposal voters overwhelmingly supported with 72% of the vote, implementing term limits for city leaders, and the reason Mosby says he's pushing the pension plan change.
It's just a bully tactic being played on the people of Baltimore.
In Annapolis,
good morning, everybody.
Governor Larry Hogan says city leaders should look at the bloodshed happening on Baltimore streets every day, especially as the move for lifetime money comes as the city was approaching the 300th homicide for the 8th straight year.
Do you think that's fiscally responsible? Does it send the wrong message to the city themselves? They fast-track this plan. They take their time when it comes to other legislation dealing with violent crime, but this seemed to have no problem getting through.
I think the voters were very clear that they supported term limits. They're not pleased in general with their elected leaders. I would say some people would probably argue that they deserve pink slips instead of pay raises.
Not everyone inside City Hall was on board. 2 city council members abstaining from voting. These 5 members voting against the plan. And experts watching from the outside, like Sean Kennedy with the Maryland Public Policy Institute.
Nick Mosby's feelings are hurt. The voters didn't agree with him.
Warned those who voted for the pension change could face accountability when they seek re-election.
On the 2024 ballot, voters could put the heel of Nick Mosby's plan right there next to Nick Mosby's name.
After a nearly decades-long legal battle, the city changing the requirements for first responders, going from 20 years to 25 before becoming eligible for a pension, while elected leaders could become eligible after 8 years.
And that's the part that really, it's a tough pill to swallow. And that's what it's got a lot of us upset.
A discrepancy that doesn't sit well with the president of the Retired Police Officers Association.
To me, that's button in line. A lot of retirees live paycheck to paycheck, or pension check to pension check.
Councilman Ryan Dorsey says he's working on a plan already to repeal the pension plan along with Question K. But for now, Mosby pushes over the pension opposition, sending his hastily written plan to the mayor for a decision.
Now, as it stands right now, again, Mayor Brandon Scott hasn't made a decision, but based on the votes during the city council meeting on Monday, Council President Nick Mosby would not have enough support to override a potential veto from the mayor. Live in Annapolis, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Mackenzie. This year in Baltimore City, politics have been one thing that's been clear, and voters are paying attention to decisions elected leaders are making. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker continues our live team coverage right now to explain that. Maxine?
Well, Kai, it may be evident more now than ever after voters overwhelmingly approved Question K that they're not blind to what is going on in City Hall. You'll remember in July, Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby lost her re-election bid, voters ultimately rejecting the 2-term incumbent and her progressive policies. Political analyst John Deedy says city voters are making it clear they care who is representing them.
I really think this year voters got more focused in on politics, and mainly it was unfortunately because it was the behavior of elected leaders. If I was running again for city council or running for any other city position and voted for this, you better have a really good explanation to your constituents why you voted for this.
So, Maxine, several council members, we understand, including Councilmember Zeke Cohen, voted against the bill. You spoke with him today. What's he saying about all of this?
Yeah, he actually urged Council President Nick Mosby to table that bill, saying that this did not have the priorities of city residents in mind, pointing out the bill felt rushed as well as irresponsible. And city residents, they showed up last night for the vote as well, expressing concerns and letting their elected leaders know they won't forget those who voted yes. Cohen says Baltimore City voters, they're definitely paying attention, and he encourages them to.
Because I think that people really, really, really care. And I was glad to see, look, no one likes being yelled at from folks, but I was glad to see people there and participating. And I think we need as much civic participation as possible.
Now, Cohen says he feels confident if the mayor would ultimately veto the bill, which he hasn't said what he would do yet, that there would not be enough votes in the council to override it. Reporting live in Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Maxine, thank you. Before the vote, we asked you, is it fair for first responders to wait 25 years for their city pensions while city council members only wait 8? 610 people voted. 98% said no. 2% said yes. We'd like you to join the conversation. Will you change who you vote for during the next election because of this vote? So far, 95% of those who voted say yes. You can vote right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote. If you'd like to contact your member of City Council, you can. Scan the QR code right here on your screen. That will take you to foxbaltimore.com. There we have contact information for each member of council listed.
Well, after some confusion with BPD statistics, Baltimore has once again, for the 8th consecutive year, reached 300 homicides. Alexa Ashwell is live to explain what the department says is behind the change and what some believe it will take for the city to no longer reach this difficult and sad milestone. Alexa.
Yes, Mary, just days ago, BPD reclassified 2 of this year's killings, essentially changing the homicide total so far this year. Still, the city has reached that grim milestone of 300 homicides so far this year, and behind every number, a name. The city's 300th homicide of 2022, a man who police say just died of his injuries after being shot back in April. And while this represents a grim milestone for Baltimore, behind each number is a name.
I kind of almost felt numb.
Steve Brandon initially thought his friend Willie Vincent was the city's 300th homicide victim.
It just said that I got a friend as a milestone.
Until the Baltimore Police Department just announced it was reclassifying 2 cases. The shooting death of Tyree Moorhead at the hands of police. The department labeling this as victim other until the investigation is complete. And then one of the victims killed in a double homicide back in February. Police determining this was justified and removing his name from the list. Former prosecutor Dhruv Vignarajah weighing in on the department reclassifying the cases and the timing of it.
Homicide detectives work hand in hand with homicide prosecutors to investigate a case, to bring an indictment before a grand jury. So it's not uncommon for them in the course of an investigation to come to the conclusion that it was self-defense or that it was a justified shooting by a person in law enforcement. What is remarkable in Baltimore City is that we are so not transparent about the process.
As the city struggles to find the formula to reduce the bloodshed, people like Brandon,
My father was killed out here,
seemingly living a repeated nightmare,
and then my brother was murdered in 2008.
but hopeful for change.
We need more cases to be closed. We need more serious and clear sentences for violent criminals.
Vignarajah specifically mentioning new and incoming Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates in his hope that the fight on crime will improve here in the city. Reporting live outside police headquarters, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Will there be a push for the option to recall elected officials? How a local group is responding to the city council's pension plan vote.
Harmful substances in your water and food, the work being done to try to eliminate forever chemicals in Maryland.
And if you're planning a trip out of town tomorrow, I know a lot of folks are, it looks like some great weather for it. Temperature is going to be nice and mild, mid to upper 50s and mainly clear skies. I'll let you know if the same holds true for Thanksgiving. Coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
And we're following breaking news out of Pigtown. The latest on an explosion. A row home flattened, leaving piles of rubble behind. We'll have an update coming up.
And we're continuing to follow the breaking news tonight. A row home explosion in Pigtown this afternoon injures 3 people. A live look on the right side of your screen of some of the destruction. The fire department, the hazmat team, BGE, all still remain on the scene. We are told the injured include a 48-year-old woman, a 16-year-old girl. They were inside the house at the time of the explosion, and a 70-year-old man who was outside. He helped rescue those 2. An investigation now underway. Well, community groups and local activists have been speaking out against the city council's move to shorten the time they need to serve to earn pensions.
Those groups are calling that move self-serving and unnecessary. Well, the chairman of PEACE, People for Elected Accountability and Civic Engagement, Giovanni Patterson, joins us right now to talk about this. Giovanni, thank you for talking with us today.
Thanks, Kai. Thanks, Mary.
Yeah, you know, yesterday, Bob Wallace kind of made a pretty bold statement saying that you guys would make it your mission to kind of go after anybody who decided to go ahead and vote along with this. Why are you doing that? And could some see that as a bit vindictive?
Well, this whole process has been about getting the people back involved. The really foundation and core the core belief of peace is to put power back in the hands of the people. And what we've seen recently is how those in power wish to remain in power and wield that power as they see fit. So in 2024, there are some things that we're aiming at. And one of those things include getting recalls on the ballot in that election cycle as well.
And we know Ryan Dorsey, one of the council members who voted no to the pension bill, tweeted last night that he is planning to push for a future ballot question to undo the term limits voters just approved. What impact do you think that will have on what's going on right now?
Well, look, 85,000 people just said yes to term limits, and now one person is saying, hey, let's not listen to those 85,000 people that just voted, and let's just do what we want to do. The ink hasn't even dried yet on this, on this election, and he's already talking about overturning what the people of Baltimore City just chose to do. So again, that move is short-sighted, and it just again reflects on why term limits are needed and why our organization is getting involved and getting people back involved in the political process.
Giovanni, where do you go from here? And how do you get, let's say, those Baltimoreans who may agree with you, but they're not necessarily involved with your group? How do you get them involved in just being interested in voting, but also helping to make stronger neighborhoods in the city?
Well, again, it is part of just get involved. Email your council members, call the mayor. That's one piece of action that you can do now is, call the mayor's office. Tell him that he needs to veto this pension plan as well. So that, again, that's one action, but also go to BeMoreAccountable.org and sign up. We want to hear from you. We want to build a coalition of people that want to see Baltimore change, that moves by the will of the people, not just those few that are in power.
And Giovanni, before we let you go, the next thing for your group, Peace, you guys are going to launch a new petition allowing the recall of elected officials. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that we actually were campaigning or getting that circulating that petition over the summer. We just ran out of time. I mean, we had garnered over 10,000 or 15,000 signatures for that petition. But once you submitted to Board of Election, they scratch out a lot of them for various reasons. But we're going to bring that one back in 2024 so people can, elect to put recalls on the ballot.
All right, we will follow up with you, Giovanni Patterson. Thanks so much for joining us today to talk more about all that's going on with your group and the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
An incredible day here weather-wise in Baltimore, up to 58 degrees. Toyota issued a harbor sky cam now at 51. That's because, of course, the sun is now setting a little bit earlier. Winds out of the south-southeast at about 5 miles an hour. Humidity is at 29%, so it is still bone dry outside. Temperatures in the 50s here in Baltimore, 52 at Westminster, 52 for getaways as you're taking 95 down to Columbia and perhaps south if you're going north. We're in the 40s up toward Elkton and Bel Air, but temperatures still statewide all running in the plus zone, anywhere between about 5 and 10 degrees warmer than they were 24 hours ago. And All those cold 30s for highs and nowhere in sight anymore. They're all gone. Temperatures, I guess the chilliest ones we have here are in the 40s from Scranton, Pennsylvania up to Boston and Pittsburgh. But winds out of the south have been helping to flood in some of that warmer air today. On the HD radar, there's some snow way up there across portions of East Michigan, and then there's rain that's down around the Gulf Coast. Outside of that, pretty quiet until you get way up there into the Pacific Northwest. So here, up and down the 95 corridor, at least until you get way down into the Carolinas, we've got some sunshine. Well, now mainly clear skies, very nice weather. Two areas of high pressure, fair weather friends. Those are our weather makers keeping all the rain staved away down to our south. Temperatures fall from the 30s and 40s back down into the low 30s overnight tonight. So you will have to bundle up again on the morning commute for tomorrow morning. A lot of folks, this may be the last morning commute of the week. And then as we work our way into the afternoon, lunchtime, we're going to be well up into the 40s and 50s, and then 50s near 60 again for tomorrow. And actually, that's going to stick around for Thanksgiving as well. Now, look at the country. This is what you want to see on one of the busiest travel days of the year for Wednesday. There's a little bit of rain-snow mix that's up around the Pacific Northwest and Intermountain West north of Denver. Outside of that, pretty much green across the rest of the country. That means little or no impact from weather. And then maybe the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma, south of Denver, a little bit of rain-snow mix and some thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast as we head into Thanksgiving. But again, 95 up and down the 95 corridor should be A-OK for local travel. 31 degrees. Clear skies for tonight, tomorrow, continued sunny. 57, that nice weather trend is also here for Thursday, Thanksgiving. Then 53 with some spot showers on Friday. Saturday, dry for much of the day, I think, but later in the day, there could be a couple of showers, mainly morning rain on Sunday, so leaving later in the day should be better. Highs near 60 and still gorgeous into early next week. Some signs are early December comes. That's when the cold air comes as well.
Well, a family could be out thousands of dollars due to Easy Pass bills, the impossible situation they claim a late notice has put them in. Will action from the state help protect Baltimore residents from violence? How Governor Hogan hopes lawmakers will move forward with crime prevention plans.
Today, I'm pleased to announce that we are formally launching online sports betting in the state of Maryland. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., 7 different sports books will be going live.
Well, making headlines today, mobile sports betting officially begins tomorrow in Maryland. Governor Larry Hogan says 7 mobile sports books will begin taking bets at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. State lottery leaders say the number of apps may expand to as many as 21 as state leaders review applications. Governor Hogan says this will be a windfall for our state by stopping residents from going elsewhere to place their bets.
Now, sports betting is helping us to keep all of these critical dollars in the state of Maryland and is providing another critical revenue source for Maryland schools. It's anticipated to bring in up to $30 million in revenue next year, and that total is expected to reach $100 million by 2027.
Well, with that said, we want to share a number with you. It is the Problem Gambler Hotline that is active 24/7. Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537 if you need help or know somebody who does. Well, state and local government offices are preparing to shut down for the Thanksgiving holiday. The Maryland Department of Transportation announcing it's planning to close all MVA offices and inspection centers Thursday. They will reopen for normal operations on Friday. Baltimore County also closing its county offices. That includes COVID-19 testing clinics and vaccination sites, as well as trash pickup and waste drop-off centers. Every year, hundreds of thousands of people get stranded while driving to holiday celebrations. The steps you can take to make sure you're not one of them. Will the state pass crime plans to help stop violence in Baltimore? Pressing Governor Hogan on what he hopes is accomplished during the next legislative session. We're continuing to follow the breaking news tonight. This is a live look at what's left of a home in Pigtown after an explosion this afternoon.
It happened just after 2 o'clock at the corner of Bayard and Sargent Streets. Now, we're told the injured include a 48-year-old woman and a 16-year-old girl who were inside the house and a 70-year-old man who was outside the house and tried to rescue them. The home next to the one that was destroyed may now have structural damage as well, and an investigation into the explosion is underway. Baltimore City marks 300 people killed for the 8th year in a row.
That's right. And Governor Larry Hogan says his concerns are the same as they have been really for years.
It's a kind of a tragic milestone, but it doesn't come as any surprise.
Frost is live in Annapolis after questioning the governor about the future of anti-crime bills when he leaves office.
Mackenzie, has he had conversations with Governor-elect Wes Moore about some of the priorities?
Yeah, Mary and Kai, Governor Larry Hogan says he has spoken with Wes Moore about some of the things that the governor was not able to get done during his time in office, specifically a piece of legislation centering around repeat violent offenders. Governor Larry Hogan tells me that not getting that plan through the General Assembly is one of the biggest frustrations of his entire 8 years in office.
Baltimore's violence echoes in Annapolis, especially during the General Assembly session when lawmakers gather for 90 days to craft policy.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Governor Larry Hogan has been pushing for the Violent Firearm Offender Act, aiming to implement tougher sentences for criminals who continue using guns in their crimes and impose mandatory minimum penalties for those repeat offenders. But the plan getting stonewalled in the State House year after year.
We've gone over 300 murders. Many years in a row, and it still, frustrates me that many of the things that we could do to stop this still haven't been implemented, and tougher sentences for these repeat violent offenders and the people that are committing the murder so we can get them off the streets.
Even though Hogan says Baltimore City has been supported at the state level for crime curbing efforts,
we've invested more money into Baltimore City than anybody in history, including $1.5 billion into public safety, and given the mayor every single request they've asked for, but it's going to take getting really bad, violent criminals off the streets and prosecuting them.
City leadership, including Mayor Brandon Scott, often not backing Hogan's repeat offender plan.
It stalled the last couple of years. We have a new administration coming in. Have you talked with Wes Moore about that?
I have, actually. I think hopefully there will be a path. We have been pushing for this for 8 years. It has more than 80% approval of all voters statewide, 87% among Baltimore City residents, because they're the ones most impacted by the violent crime. And I shared all that with Wes Moore.
Moore telling FOX45 News he's open to the governor's plans.
It is something we are going to look at, because we've got to prioritize not just getting these firearms and illegal guns off of our streets. It's also about going after the people who continue to bring them into communities.
Hogan often at odds with leaders in the city, recognizing now his successor has a much different relationship with the region. Hogan reiterating why he says it's important for leaders to finish what he couldn't.
And I think maybe with the new administration and relationship that he'll have a better chance convincing them that they've got to do something about violent crime.
Do you think that politics were at play here if Wes Moore is able to come in and get it done?
I mean, I hate to speculate or on a hypothetical what might happen or could happen. I told him how important I thought it was and how frustrated it was, my top frustration for not getting it done, and that I hoped that perhaps with his relationship with the city, maybe he could finally convince them. So, I'd be happy if it got done. I wish it would have happened 8 years ago.
While it's unclear what will happen with this bill or any other anti-crime legislation, the people who call Charm City home live with the reality of a crime crisis, one that's been holding a grip on Baltimore for nearly a decade.
Now, the legislative session is set to begin January 11th, and the very next week, Wes Moore will be sworn in. Live in Annapolis, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
In counties under pressure, a family offering $100,000 for information leading to an arrest of an 18-year-old murder case. Richard Atkins Jr. was killed in December of 2003. Police say someone broke into his Westminster apartment demanding money. When Atkins refused, police say the person beat him to death, stole cash and DVDs, and fled. Anyone with information can contact the Maryland State Police Cold Case Unit at 410-996-7881.
We have a goal of ensuring clean water on demand everywhere for communities across the nation.
Research underway right now at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab has a local and nationwide impact on clean drinking water. It was earlier this month when we first reported on that study that revealed Maryland's waterways have the highest level of forever chemicals nationwide. Fox 45's Amy Simpson was inside the lab with local researchers today. Amy, that's so cool. What did you learn?
Yeah, well, I'm told that just last year, the EPA identified forever chemicals as an urgent, critical item that needed to be addressed, and a team of local researchers here in the Baltimore region working to tackle the problem. At Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab in Howard County, researchers are working to make your drinking water cleaner and safer. I should put on gloves. Specifically targeting ways to eliminate PFAS, also known as forever chemicals, which studies show to be harmful to people and animals.
That's, not something that you're going to be able to see in your water or know that it's there.
Forever chemicals have been manufactured into everyday items for decades.
You can find PFAS molecules in stain-resistant carpet, food packaging, and they are a large component in advanced firefighting foams.
But these contaminants have no natural way to break down and make their way into our soil and water.
So unless we do something, they will stick around.
A team of researchers at Johns Hopkins APL are developing ways to either filter out or destroy these forever chemicals.
The EPA recommends for PFOA and PFOS, which are two of the most common PFAS compounds, that they should be below a level of 70 parts per trillion in drinking water. That's about 3.5 drops of water in an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
So far, the team at APL creating this filter, hoping in the future it could be paired with common commercial filters to bring cleaner water to your home.
Either in, something like a pitcher filter or an under sink filter.
Or on a larger scale, integrated into community water treatment plants. The goal is for these filters to be less expensive, last longer, and filter out even the tiniest of contaminants. Those tiny molecules sometimes missed, researchers say, by filters already on the market.
It gets me really excited to come into the lab.
As for destroying these chemicals so they don't last forever, APL working to make that process eco-friendly and efficient.
Mostly we just want to keep our water clean and people safe.
Yeah, and as researchers continue trying to make these water filters more accessible and environmentally friendly, it is something that could have an impact on access to clean water across the globe. Reporting live tonight, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
First on Fox, a Baltimore County family says there's nothing easy about the nearly $3,000 Easy Pass bill they recently received. They claim the bill came late due to COVID delays, and now they're scrambling to pay it off before the holidays. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor reports if they don't act fast, they'll owe thousands more.
It's heavy.
You know a bill is big when it's shipped in a box, not an envelope.
I'm like, did you order anything from Amazon or Walmart or anything? And she goes, no. And I'm like, well, what is this?
Baltimore County resident Robert Loudermilk says he knew he'd been taking the toll roads periodically without an Easy Pass.
Maybe in a month about 10
times.
About 10 times, maybe a little more.
But he never expected this sky-high stack of fines.
I opened this up and I was shocked.
The box contains 477 notices, totaling nearly $2,800. And if it's not paid in 30 days, Loudermilk will owe more than $14,000.
There's no way I went through the tolls that many times. I feel like some of these are duplicates.
Not only is he contesting some of these charges, he says the Maryland Transportation Authority refuses to grant him a payment plan, and the COVID grace period for unpaid tolls ends this month.
They won't give me any options.
Loudermilk claims he'd regularly check his account balance online and doesn't think it's fair he wasn't notified about these climbing charges months ago.
I actually was able to speak to somebody to get help to pay, to pay this. And she told me that as of right now, you're at zero. You don't owe anything else. So if I was good to go in April, how come in October I owe this much?
When Fox 45 reached out to the Maryland Department of Transportation, they told us they couldn't comment on specific customer accounts due to privacy reasons. However, they did say they are, quote, working with this customer. They also say they're in the process of being able to offer payment plans, something Loudermilk hopes happens sooner rather than later.
If I don't get this handled by November 30th, things are going to get terrible for us.
Rebecca Pryor,
possibly homelessness.
Fox 45 News.
MDTA also asked that all customers with outstanding debt reach out to them for assistance. You can find their contact information in this story on foxbaltimore.com.
A warning from AAA, make sure your car is in good shape if you're counting on it for Thanksgiving travel. AAA expects to rescue over 400,000 stranded drivers over the holiday weekend. 9,000 of those will be in Maryland. Basic steps to make sure you don't get stranded include making sure you have a spare tire in your vehicle, check the battery health in your car before a long trip, and make sure your car has its proper level of antifreeze in case temperatures dip. And just in case you do get stuck, bring an emergency kit with blankets, water, and a flashlight.
Trending right now, teens bullying themselves online as a cry for help. The dangers of digital self-harm and how it can be a real threat to your kids.
Nursing shortages may only get worse. I'm Angela Brown in Washington, D.C. What nurses are saying about quitting and what organizations are doing to keep them.
If you're staying local for Thanksgiving and maybe have the day off tomorrow and taking the evening out tonight, it's actually pretty nice. Temperature's going to be falling through the 40s into the 30s, though. A little bit of a chill through about 10 p.m. I'm going to let you know when we could have highs near 60 coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
We're following breaking news right now. This is a live look of a row home explosion in Baltimore. It happened just after 2 o'clock at the corner of Bayard and Sargent Streets in Pigtown. Firefighters say a woman and girl inside the home were hurt. along with a 70-year-old man outside who was trying to rescue them. An investigation is underway. RSV is one of the multiple viruses hitting families hard this season across the country, and it's also filling up hospitals. The spike in cases is really difficult for hospitals to handle due to a national nursing shortage. National correspondent Angela Brown has more on what's being done to keep people in the profession.
A recent poll by Connect RN found that 50% of nurses have considered leaving the profession. We are digging into what organizations and states are doing to stop the bleeding. A nursing Hail Mary in Oregon coming in the form of new legislation.
Our members are burned out.
Could a new bill fix that? The Oregon Nurses Association thinks so, or at least make a dent. They're proposing a bill to require Oregon hospitals to have a minimum number of nurses for the number of patients and make it enforceable with fines. Our team in Portland interviewing Paige Spence from ONA.
By establishing these standards into law, we're closing the loopholes that some hospitals are currently exploiting to have fewer nurses at the bedside.
From state legislation to cash bonuses, the pressure on overdrive to keep and hire nurses. In Texas, sign-on bonuses nearly doubling. California, the average salary 20% higher than the national average, not to mention a global bidding war for nurses. Paul Siegert, PCS Advisors, is tracking it all.
People leave, retire early, vaccine mandates, people leave the business. So it accelerated the whole process.
Overall, the healthcare industry is having its own emergency. Healthcare Brew reporting this month more than 4 million workers left the healthcare industry in the first 8 months of this year, 20% of the entire workforce. Shortages that may trigger more quits.
But if you show up and you're supposed to be in a facility that has 10 positions filled and there are only 6 there, you're doing the work of those other 4 positions.
This year, nurses hitting back, protesting in major cities like LA, saying they're stretched thin.
Sometimes we have to work 12 and a half hours straight with no breaks.
That same Connect RN one poll found that the #1 reason nurses want to quit? Staffing shortages. In Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers here with our weather. Progressively during the day, really got nice outside, right?
We don't want this weather to quit.
No,
I mean,
we like that.
It's gorgeous. Temperatures at 25 this morning, so it was cold.
Yes.
But then this afternoon up to 58. I mean, we'll take that. And you know, we got a busy travel day coming tomorrow.
Right.
This whole week's been busy, but especially tomorrow.
Okay.
And the weather looks good. So
nice,
let's
Jonathan.
get right in there and show you what we have going on Mile 1 Towson Cam York Road. Looks good on the corridor there, 51 degrees, clear skies, winds into the south-southeast at 5 miles an hour. Humidity still absolutely bone dry. The chapstick weather continues. 51 here in Baltimore, 50 degrees at Westminster. If you're headed north and east on 95, still clear skies, but temperatures dip into the 40s. South and west, we're in the 50s down Laurel Way in toward D.C. Temperatures all running about 5 to 10 degrees warmer than they were 24 hours ago. And where's the cold air on the map? It's eroding. There's not too much left. Still some 40s at Pittsburgh as well as Scranton up toward Boston. But everybody else generally is in the 50s, and that is a little bit above average for this time of year. So we're finally hopping above average now. Notice the snow way north up towards the Canadian border, down south into portions of southern Mississippi, Louisiana near New Orleans, and Florida. There's still some lingering rain down there. But outside of that, this big corridor right along 95 is warmer and nice and dry. The sunshine sticking around not only for the remainder of tomorrow, all the Thanksgiving travels, but also into Thanksgiving as double-barreled high-pressure fair weather friend sticks around for us. And that means some really nice weather. So the future scan overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, not 25, not teens like we saw yesterday morning, but now closer to freezing. And then tomorrow afternoon, it's pretty much carbon copy weather back to the mid to upper 50s and a good deal of sun. So heading toward Thanksgiving, here we go. 31 clear skies and chilly for tonight. 57 continued sunny for tomorrow. Your 7-day forecast, 57 for our Wednesday, sun and pleasant. Thanksgiving, it's 57 degrees and sun. Could see some clouds and perhaps a shower or two here for Friday. So Black Friday sales maybe a little bit moist. And then working to Saturday, most of the day looks dry, although in the afternoon, the later you get, the better the chance you could see a stray shower, especially Saturday night into Sunday morning. There actually could be a steadier rain with highs approaching 60 and then back down to the 50s and drier weather into early next week. And we'll have an in-depth look at your Thanksgiving weekend forecast in a couple of minutes.
Jonathan, thank you. New at 6 o'clock, climate change cash, why the U.S. is considering paying other countries for damages caused by American environmental hazards. Kids bullying themselves online, how the troubling trend of digital self-harm is threatening children. There's a new and troubling phenomenon with kids called digital self-harm. Teens are posting hurtful, threatening content about themselves anonymously online, making it look like someone else did it. Samantha Carrigan from our Sinclair sister station in West Palm Beach has more on this trend.
As we've studied this, believe it or not, the prevalence has gone up over the years.
Professor Samir Hinduja of Florida Atlantic University has been studying digital self-harm for about 8 years. His most recent research, published in the journal Child and Adolescent Mental Health, found about 9% of adolescents anonymously posted something negative about themselves online, and 5% said they cyberbullied themselves.
When we've studied digital self-harm, youth specifically tell us that they do it either as a call for attention. They want to see which of their friends are true friends who will defend them. They do it as a cry for help. You know, they're deeply struggling and they just want someone to notice them.
Hinduja says the most disturbing finding was that kids who engaged in these behaviors were as much as 7 times more likely to have considered suicide and up to 15 times more likely to have attempted to take their own lives.
Kids are struggling when it comes to mental health issues, without a doubt. And I would say that the pandemic has exacerbated the impact of all of these issues, unfortunately.
We've seen in the past 2 years, suicidal rates and depression have gone up significantly.
Dr. Idan Alkali is a clinical psychologist specializing in children and adolescents. He's treated patients taking part in this dangerous digital trend.
Why are they engaging in digital self-harm? Because they're thousands, millions of people that are viewing it, and they get that sort of dopamine rush by people seeing it and viewing it. The other part is it's a way of self-injurious behaviors, which borders on suicide.
But even with all those eyes, Dr. Alkali says the downside to the digital world is that it creates a sense of isolation because there's no personal face-to-face interaction. What would your advice be to parents?
I would suggest to have more quality family time together. Either playing together, watching a show together, something where there's an experience of togetherness that is not about parent-child dynamic. It's about just being together as a family.
That was Samantha Kerrigan reporting. Experts say classic depressive signs like irregular sleep habits, significant weight changes, and anxiety are all things to monitor when keeping an eye on your child's mental health.
All right, an in-depth look at your very busy weekend forecast coming up. Actually starts really, I guess, with Thursday. Some folks even off tomorrow with sunshine expected in mid to upper 50s. Thanksgiving looking very much the same. Now, on Friday, next weather maker moves toward us, but notice most of the rain's down to the south. There could be some spotty showers, though, so keep that in mind for shopping. Then Saturday, especially in the afternoon and beyond, there could be some rain into Sunday morning. If you're getting back home Sunday afternoon, things look okay there. And Thanksgiving getaway travels most of the country except the Intermountain West and down on the Gulf South. There could be some rainy and thundery problems down that way. Beautiful for Thanksgiving with highs in the 50s around here.
Jonathan, thank you. An investigation is underway after a row home explodes in Pigtown in Baltimore. This is a live look. The Baltimore Fire Department says 3 people were hurt, a woman and a girl who were inside, and a 70-year-old man outside trying to help them. We'll have a full report coming up. Up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, Baltimore sees 300 people murdered for the 8th year in a row. What police say is behind the confusion in the data. Mobile sports gambling is set to start tomorrow in Maryland. Governor Hogan weighs in on the benefits for Marylanders.
Three major developments tonight. Devastation in Pigtown. 3 people fighting for their lives after a massive explosion this afternoon in Pigtown. Fox 45 News has new developments in a live report. The Archdiocese of Baltimore responds to a potential release of documents outlining years of child sex abuse, while other groups are trying to have the documents sealed for good. And Baltimore City Council moves forward with a plan to reduce pension requirements, while Governor Hogan says the council should reconsider.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
And we continue to follow the breaking news today. 3 people in critical condition as an explosion levels a home in Pigtown. Firefighters and BGE still on the scene as we can see rubble left behind by this massive blast. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. We're going to go right to Fox 45's Keith Daniels. He is live on the scene with the latest developments for us. Keith?
Well, Mary, just getting an update on the victims. Fire officials telling us again they're all in critical condition at this hour. They are a 16-year-old girl, a 48-year-old woman, and a 70-year-old man. Now, fire officials say that man was hurt while trying to rescue the girl and woman from the home before they say the building collapsed on him. Now, officials say the home exploded just after 2 o'clock today. They say the 70-year-old man was walking nearby when it happened and then jumped into action. Fire officials had this to say earlier. Listen.
The 2 females they did have some burn injuries. They were transferred to the burn center. The male was transferred to shock trauma at this time. We would like for them to avoid the area as we are still going through our operations. We would appreciate it if they would avoid the area right now. But however, we have, as you see with the yellow tape that we've put up, we've made this a scene safe. We ask that everyone stay behind the yellow tape, which is basically the fire line at this point.
Now we are back here live where we're told building inspectors remain on the scene to evaluate the stability of the 4 adjacent homes. You may see them with the blue awnings there, those 4 adjacent homes. Not known yet if those residents will be able to re-enter their homes tonight. We're told the Red Cross is here just in case to help evaluate their situation. But again, a 16-year-old girl, a 48-year-old woman, and a 70-year-old man, all in critical condition tonight. Well, live now in South Baltimore, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Keith, thank you. Also breaking tonight, the Archdiocese of Baltimore says it won't oppose the release of sealed documents in a Maryland Attorney General's report on decades of child sex abuse within the church. Now, this comes after an anonymous group filed a motion to keep the documents private earlier this afternoon, which was opposed by the Maryland Attorney General's office. The investigation identifies more than 600 victims and more than 150 priests credibly accused of abuse. One of the lawyers pushing to seal the documents has represented the Archdiocese in the past. Baltimore police confirmed the city has reached 300 homicides after some confusion over those statistics and how the city shares information on violent crime. Alexa Ashwell explains what's behind the changes and has an update on the latest murder.
The Baltimore Police Department has reclassified 2 of this year's killings, essentially adjusting the homicide total. Still, the city has reached the grim milestone of 300 homicides so far this year, and behind each number, a name.
The city's 300th homicide of 2022, a man who police say just died of his injuries after being shot back in April. And while this represents a grim milestone for Baltimore, behind each number is a name.
I kind of almost feel numb.
Steve Brandon initially thought his friend Willie Vincent was the city's 300th homicide victim.
It just said that I got a friend as a milestone.
Until the Baltimore Police Department just announced it was reclassifying 2 cases. The shooting death of Tyree Moorhead at the hands of police. The department labeling this as victim other until the investigation is complete. And then one of the victims killed in a double homicide back in February. Police determining this was justified and removing his name from the list. Former prosecutor Dhruv Vignarajah weighing in on the department reclassifying the cases and the timing of it.
Homicide detectives work hand in hand with homicide prosecutors to investigate a case, to bring an indictment before a grand jury. So it's not uncommon for them in the course of an investigation to come to the conclusion that it was self-defense or that it was a justified shooting by a person in law enforcement. What is remarkable in Baltimore City is that we are so not transparent about the process.
As the city struggles to find the formula to reduce the bloodshed, people like Brandon,
My father was killed out here,
seemingly living a repeated nightmare,
and then my brother was murdered in 2008.
but hopeful for change.
We need more cases to be closed. We need more serious and clear sentences for violent criminals.
And as we've heard from some others, Vignarajah believes there is new hope in reducing the violence here in the city with incoming City State's Attorney Ivan Bates. Reporting outside police headquarters, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Well, Baltimore Firefighters Union says a battery malfunction is behind an evacuation at Grace Medical Center in West Baltimore, briefly shutting down the hospital's outpatient services and emergency room. Several roads in the area were also shut down. Officials say the explosion caused a smell of sulfur to spread throughout the building. The hospital was back up and running by 1:30 this afternoon. Well, Baltimore City's council has approved a plan to reduce pension requirements from 12 years to 8, but some lawmakers aren't necessarily on board. Mackenzie Frost shares the response from Governor Larry Hogan and Mayor Brandon Scott, who could issue a veto.
Governor Larry Hogan says Baltimore politicians should take a look at some of the problems facing the city before voting to give themselves anything. Meanwhile, I'm told Mayor Brandon Scott has not yet made a decision about this plan. Fiery opposition inside City Hall's council chambers Monday night.
We need to consistently put the interests and the needs of the communities we serve above our own. I vote no.
As the concern related to question K will not take effect on any person, a member of this body, until a decade from now. We have a whole decade.
The words not stopping Council President Nick Mosby from getting the votes to pass his fast-track pension plan, making it easier for council members to get lifetime benefits for part-time work after 8 years instead of 12.
The people, didn't really ask for this.
Giovanni Patterson with the group behind Question K. The ballot proposal voters overwhelmingly supported with 72% of the vote, implementing term limits for city leaders, and the reason Mosby says he's pushing the pension plan change.
It's just a bully tactic being played on the people of Baltimore.
In Annapolis,
good morning, everybody.
Governor Larry Hogan says city leaders should look at the bloodshed happening on Baltimore streets every day, especially as the move for lifetime money comes as the city was approaching the 300th homicide for the 8th straight year.
Do you think that's fiscally responsible? Does it send the wrong message to the city themselves? They fast-track this plan. They take their time when it comes to other legislation dealing with violent crime, but this seemed to have no problem getting through.
I think the voters were very clear that they supported term limits. They're not pleased in general with their elected leaders. I would say some people would probably argue that they deserve, pink slips instead of pay raises.
Not everyone inside City Hall was on board. 2 city council members abstaining from voting. These 5 members voting against the plan. And experts watching from the outside, like Sean Kennedy with the Maryland Public Policy Institute.
Nick Mosby's feelings are hurt. The voters didn't agree with him.
Warned those who voted for the pension change could face accountability when they seek re-election.
On the 2024 ballot, voters could put the heel of Nick Mosby's plan right there next to Nick Mosby's name.
After a nearly decades-long legal battle, the city changing the requirements for first responders, going from 20 years to 25 before becoming eligible for a pension, while elected leaders could become eligible after 8 years.
And that's the part that really, it's a tough pill to swallow. And that's what it's got a lot of us upset.
A discrepancy that doesn't sit well with the president of the Retired Police Officers Association.
To me, that's button in line. A lot of retirees live paycheck to paycheck or pension check to pension check.
Councilman Ryan Dorsey says he's working on a plan already to repeal the pension plan along with Question K. But for now, Mosby pushes over the pension opposition, sending his hastily written plan to the mayor for a decision. As it stands right now, Council President Nick Mosby would not have enough support to override a potential veto from the mayor. In Annapolis, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Well, it is almost here. Online sports betting begins tomorrow in Maryland. Governor Larry Hogan says 7 sports books will start taking bets at 9 a.m. and as many as 21 could be approved as state leaders review applications. Governor Hogan says this launch will help keep millions of dollars in Maryland since residents won't have to place bets elsewhere.
Now, sports betting is helping us to keep all of these critical dollars in the state of Maryland, and is providing another critical revenue source for Maryland schools. It's anticipated to bring in up to $30 million in revenue next year, and that total is expected to reach $100 million by 2027.
With that said, though, we want to share this with you. It is the Problem Gambler Hotline that is active 24/7. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. That is 1-800-426-2537 if you need help or you know someone who does.
Let's go live to the White House right now as President Biden plans on extending a pause on student loan repayments, extending relief beyond the new year into June 30th of 2023. This comes as a legal battle is playing out over whether the president has the authority to offer student loan relief without congressional approval. The program aims to deliver up to $20,000 of debt relief for millions of borrowers. Well, Democratic lawmakers will be able to see former President Donald Trump's tax returns after a 3-year legal battle. Today, the Supreme Court ruled House Ways and Means Committee members are entitled to those documents, but it's unclear when they'll actually receive the returns. Democrats argue they need the tax returns to evaluate the audit process while Trump was president. The former president says it is an overreach to ask. The GOP takes over control of the committee in the new Congress next year.
The White House with a controversial new agreement to possibly pay other countries for the effects of pollution and global warming. I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with what's now causing a major rift.
And mainly clear skies with some chilly temperatures overnight, but okay for getaways for Thanksgiving as we head into early tomorrow. I'll let you know when the next risk of a weather maker giving us some possibly poor travel weather gets in here. That's up in my Weather Authority forecast.
And we're continuing to follow a massive explosion in Pigtown as 3 people fight for their lives in area hospitals. We'll be right back. Well, 3 people are still in critical condition following an explosion this afternoon in Pigtown. An entire home has been leveled. Officials say a woman and teenage girl were inside the home at the time. They were both sent to the hospital with severe burns. A 70-year-old man went into the home trying to rescue them when it collapsed. He was taken to shock trauma. The cause of the explosion still under investigation, but fire officials confirm the explosion ruptured a gas line. Fox 45 has been on the scene for several hours. We'll bring you more updates as they become available. Well, for the first time, rich countries have agreed to pay poorer ones for climate damage, and the U.S. is helping to pick up the tab. Chief political correspondent Scott Thuman looks into the decision and a growing controversy.
Calamitous storms, droughts, deadly heat waves worldwide costing lives and irreparable damage. President Biden has long pledged to go more green.
We're racing forward to do our part to avert the climate hell.
Now Biden willing to pay up.
We established the first ever dedicated fund for loss and damage.
The U.S. and other wealthier nations agreeing at the UN's climate conference to a controversial loss and damage fund to compensate poorer countries hit hardest and blaming global warming due to pollution. According to the New York Times, America has pumped more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere than any nation in history. But the U.S. and the European Union are pushing for assurances that China will eventually contribute to any fund and that China will not be eligible to receive money from it.
China will get off scot-free because they hold on to their nonsensical category as a so-called undeveloped or middle-income nation.
And one of the most egregious polluters. Though unclear exactly how the fund would work, instant fiery complaints from conservatives calling it a shakedown with U.S. taxpayers on the hook. The New York Post arguing Americans have suffered enough with skyrocketing energy prices and Biden's, quote, green agenda idiocy, limiting fossil fuel production. Vice President Harris said the U.S. can and should set the tone.
The passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, for example, where we have committed $370 billion to address this issue, I think that is a point of inspiration.
But Congress would have to approve more spending, and with Republicans taking control of the House, it sets the stage for what could be another funding fight here on the Hill. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Well, plenty of traffic out on the roads tonight as Thanksgiving travel is in full swing already. Here's a look at I-95 at Maryland 175 in Elk Ridge, pointing south toward D.C. Normally by now, this would be the tail end of the evening rush, but all of the out-of-towners on 95 slowing things down a bit out there. Jonathan, what weather should people expect if they're still waiting to travel?
You know, that's the silver lining here, Mary. It's really not going to have a whole lot of effect. As you know, you're heading out and about this evening. If you're heading home on maybe the final commute of the week, you have tomorrow off and you're kind of getting out of town on Wednesday. Or if you're getting out of town now, or if you're just commuting home and you got a couple more for tomorrow. Either way, good-looking weather. It's a little on the cool side now after highs nice and warm. Actually checked, we did make it to 59 this afternoon, finally above average by about 5 degrees. Mile 1 Towson Cam looking good, although the roads here are busy in Towson on the Mile 1 Cam. And our winds out of the south at about 5 miles an hour. Now a little wind chill kicking in at 47. Temperatures all in the 40s to right around 50 degrees area-wide. And these temperatures are running about 5 to 10 degrees above where they were yesterday at the same time. And yesterday they were warmer than the day before. So the warming trend does continue. Temperature now, one of the warm spots is Roanoke at 55, but everybody else is in generally the upper 40s, which is okay for this time of year. A couple of weather makers on the map. There's one that's north, way up here into portions of Canada. That's not going to impact us. Down south, there's some moisture that's pulling up that actually will begin to pair up with a system that's now just moving into the Pacific Northwest. And eventually in pieces, that is going to impact our weather by the end of the week into this upcoming weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Especially Sunday, I think, is the best chance of some showers. But overall, the system is looking a little bit lighter and a little less major, if you will, than it was a few days ago. So warmer weather continues. We had temperatures again in the mid to upper 50s today. Fair weather high pressure, double barrel down to the south, staving away any rain for now. So it looks like it's very quiet around here. I've kind of widened out our future scan as folks are trying to head out of town. Take a look as we head into tonight and tomorrow. Trouble spot up here in the Pacific Northwest and Intermountain West. And then there's some of that rain that's way down south. And notice those two systems begin to kind of pair up with the moisture south and some of that snow that's around Denver as we head into Thanksgiving. But notice I didn't talk much about around here because there's not much going on. It's mainly clear skies all the way through Thanksgiving. Some showers off the coast as you head down towards South Carolina. But really, I think we're going to be having to wait until the second portion of the weekend to get any significant weather around here. Maybe Black Friday, there could be a few showers, but we'll detail those in the exclusive 10-day forecast. 31, chilly for tonight, 57, and continued sunny, pleasant, beautiful day for tomorrow for getaways for Thanksgiving. And coming up in just a couple of minutes, we're going to have your exclusive 10-day forecast. Going to take you all the way through the holiday and let you know what it looks like as we head well into our holiday season next week after Thanksgiving in a couple of minutes.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Monday was a record-setting day in Seattle. It was the 14th consecutive day without measurable rainfall. That's the city's longest stretch ever in the month of November. And here's a rare sight in late November. It's a cold air funnel or a waterspout in northern Michigan. They can form as air temperatures cool over the warmer water of Lake Michigan.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
Well, Thanksgiving is in 2 days, but the people over at Power Plant Live already have Christmas on their minds. Be More lifestyle host Mark Clark takes us through some of the festive cuisine available at this year's holiday event.
So it's an actual miracle at Power Plant Live. Ashley's been taking us through all the fun activities. Right now, it's the food. Tell us about the food.
Yeah, so we have an exclusive menu for our Miracle Pop-Up Bar. As you can see, we have the fuzzy pigs in a blanket, Mrs. Claus turkey meatballs, the treat yourself waffle, jacket frosted cannolis, and Santa's churros. Now, like I said, limited time. You can come get this through December 30th. Our hours of operations are Wednesday through Friday, 4 to close, and Saturday and Sunday, noon to close. You have to make reservations to come, so we're really hoping to see everyone. You can get that access to that at powerplantlive.com, and then click on the link and I'll send you to Open Table.
I love it. You know, the delicious drinks, delicious food, really just the whole experience. Yeah. Twerking Santa, you got the great music.
The s'mores making machines for the family, friends. It's an awesome experience. The adults can drink and the kids can just roast some s'mores right on the table.
Wow, it's a great experience. Yeah. Again, it really is a miracle, but again, you have to have reservations. You just can't walk on in. No. Get your reservations and come join this great experience. Of course, and who can figure about 2 twerking Santas? Come on, Miracle. Mark Clark, Fox 45 News.
All right, looks entertaining. 57 degrees with sunshine, pleasant for getaways on Wednesday, Thursday. We got our dancing little turkey here with 57 degrees for a real beautiful day to, well, just kind of really get into the holiday season. And then for Friday for shopping, yes, there will be a chance of some spot showers. It doesn't look like everyone's going to see it all day, but there will be some wetness. Could see a drier day Saturday, but during the afternoon and evening, a shower could move back in late with a high 56. All these temperatures generally at or above average. 59 on Sunday, mainly morning rain if you got to get home. I think during the afternoon's the best time, and 50s Monday, Tuesday, actually to wrap up all the way into next week. Highs in the mid-50s.
Jonathan, thank you. Well, the 2022 FIFA World Cup continues tomorrow with a pair of games on Fox 45. First, Spain plays Costa Rica at 11 a.m. Then Canada looks for its first ever World Cup win against Belgium. Kickoff is at 2 p.m. Well, finally tonight, if you're looking to adopt an animal this week, maybe the best time to do it. Baltimore Animal Rescue and Care Shelter, or BARCS, is starting its Black Friday event today. Anybody who adopts between now and Sunday will have their adoption fees waived. BARCS says they're looking for foster homes for large cats and dogs, and the onboarding process takes less than an hour. So easy to do. Well, that's all for Fox 45 News at 6. Family Feud is up next. Stay with us on air and online for new information on that devastating row home explosion in Pigtown. We'll have updates throughout the night. We'll see you back here for the news at 10. Good night.